Hey best friends, I'm Claire.
And I'm Yana.
Welcome to
My Best Friend's Book Club!
We read a handful of pages each week, so it's easy to follow along or to catch up. And then each week we meet to discuss and swap notes. If you're following along with us, we'd love to hear your notes and any topics you'd like us to discuss. Just send us an email at mybfbookclub@gmail.com.
So sexy.
Okay, our first book, Yana, what are we reading?
Bright Young Women.
Bye.
Jessica Knoll.
Good job.
Thank you.
It is a thriller that reimagines the story of the woman affected by the real-life crimes of Ted Bundy. Rather than centering on the killer, we focus on the women whose lives are upended by these brutal crimes. In solidarity with the writer,
We refer to Ted Bundy as the defendant.
that's right, never again
Hashtag never again.
will you hear. So for the first episode, we'll be discussing chapter 1, titled Pamela. It's a whopping 82 pages to start.
So many
But
pages.
generally, we'll try to keep it more in the 50-page range so people can keep up each week.
With their jobs.
And their lives, their
Okay.
children, their
Laundry doesn't
animals
stop.
and
Laundry
stuff.
never stops.
Okay, getting into chapter 1, we'll go through like a summary of just like what took place.
It's hard to call it chapter 1 though, because
It really
it's like
is chapter 1 though.
called Pamela.
Okay, I'll call it Pamela of 82
Pamela!
pages.
Pamela of 82 pages.
Pamela of 82 pages. Okay, so surprise, we meet Pamela.
Who's Pamela?
She is a president of the sorority that is attacked. We find out 2 girls are killed. One is Denise, who is Pamela's best friend and a very popular girl. We also find out another 2 girls are severely injured. This is Jill and Eileen. Do you remember all this?
No, I already forgot their names.
We find out that Pamela is the only one who saw the attacker. And it's important to note that she mistakes him for Denise's on and off boyfriend named... Come on, Yana.
Brian.
That's her boyfriend.
Jack.
Roger.
That.
She tells the police that she believed it to be Roger at first, right?
She said that so quick though.
Right. But unfortunately, they do arrest Roger in
Correct.
the first chapter. I'm going to call it chapter. I'm sorry.
Chapter-ish.
We also found out that one of the sorority girls, Bernadette, I'm sure you know who Bernadette is, once saw Roger get violent with Denise. And after Denise broke up with him for the 100th time, Roger asked Bernadette out. And to my surprise, I don't know if you see your friend being attacked, it's a red flag, but she agrees to go out with him. Remember?
We don't victim blame here.
I'm just saying, if I saw a guy like attack you and then you broke up with him and he later was like, hey, you want to go out with me? I'd be like,
Probably not.
no, I'm good.
No, thank you.
But I think it's one of my discussion points. I think it's an interesting thing that like women do. Because Denise was the most popular girl, remember?
All the boys liked her.
That's right. We'll get into that.
Okay. Stay tuned, everyone.
That's we're almost there.
This is the cliffhanger you all wanted to keep going.
We also meet Tina, who is helping the families of the sorority girls who were attacked. We come to find that Tina's motivation to help is that her friend Ruth, which is the title of the next chapter that Yana's going to tell you all about,
Uh-oh.
was killed by the same man that Pamela saw the night of the killings.
Well, assumes.
Assumes. We're making
Yes.
it, that's right. We're assuming.
Yes, we're assuming he looks very much...
But Pamela seems quite convicted based on the image that Tina shows her. Right?
Who also sometimes goes by Martina.
That's true. Oh, very
Correct.
good. I'm very
Thank
proud of
you.
Good
Thank you so
job.
much. I read it this
Yeah.
morning.
So throughout chapter 1, Pamela, we shift from present day, where Pamela has been summoned to Tallahassee and is traveling
It's
there.
very confusing.
We don't exactly know why, but I think we can assume that there's like some kind of court case.
She got a little bit of a spooky letter.
Yeah, she's just spooky. Letter.
A little bit
Yeah, just a
spooky.
little
I'd be
spooky.
spooked.
And then we shift between that moment in time back to the past tense when the sorority was attacked. And we get hints in present day that Pamela has followed in the footsteps of her father and became a lawyer as well. And we also learn that Pamela has a challenging relationship with her parents particularly her mother, who has some hidden secret.
Don't they all?
Related to why she does not want Pamela to go to Florida State University, but we don't know why. We just know that she is just very frazzled that Pamela has decided to go there.
Mothers be that way.
Do you recall?
I do recall a little bit. It's all coming back to me.
See,
It's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now.
Oh God, poor Celine Dion is like rolling in her bed right now. Okay, so main topics to discuss for this chapter. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the moment where Pamela sees the defendant, but he doesn't see her. Do you recall this scene?
I do recall.
What did you think about that scene? Well,
she got lucky.
I like the way she described it. May I share a quote, or is that stupid?
Yes, you may.
We're gonna do it. She said,
Professor.
Then I watched as every muscle in the man's body tensed, as though he sensed he was being watched. With a slow swivel of his head, he focused like a raptor on a spot just beyond my shoulder. I was paralyzed by a hammering dread that still comes for me in my nightmares, locking my spine and vaporizing my scream in the sandpapered walls of my throat. It was a good line. I felt like nervous for her. You know what I mean?
I felt nothing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was just like, this girl is like in the dark. He's like, I'm being watched. I've had that feeling.
Yeah, but she like doesn't even know that like the whole sorority house got attacked, and then you're just like,
yeah, but there's a random man in your house.
Luckily, like in the darkness. I liked that part. Okay.
It definitely made me think twice before standing up to pee the other night.
I mean, like, I feel like we always hear and see these scenes where like someone's in your house, you know, but then like it actually happened. That would be like,
oh no, I would definitely shit my pants. But
Pamela just stood there. Was like, oh my God.
Yeah, but I think you get into that like moment of shock, right? Like where it takes over your body a little bit.
Yeah, she just stood there.
Probably would do. What else is she supposed to do? Go fight him?
Well, I guess it depends on like your response, right? There's like,
and she doesn't know they're dead.
Spoiler. Okay, so I really like this part though.
Sure you do.
Leave me alone. Okay, after the moment she sees him, he doesn't see her, right? Then she goes to start like checking on the girls to see like what's going on. And like what I loved about this part was you're just like really immersed with her in this moment where she like can't comprehend what's really happening, and she like thinks a girl is running to go throw up, but she actually has blood coming down her face. Or like someone goes to get a bucket to like clean up the blood. She's like, that makes perfect sense because we don't want the blood to set in. Or she thinks someone's sleeping, but they're dead. She's so like in shock that she like literally can't comprehend that they're like hurt and some of them are dead.
I think some of it's shock and some of it is just like you're choosing the first logical thought. You know, if I saw you running down the hall towards the bathroom, I'm not gonna be like, she probably has her face slashed. I'm gonna be like, girl has to throw up.
But doesn't she describe it as like she sees blood, but she's like just drank too much and throwing up?
I don't remember. You know?
Or she thinks the girl has a nosebleed, but like he's
that sounds
dead.
reason.
But like she like can't process.
But I think any of us would do that.
I know, but I just honestly that was one of my favorite parts of like this whole chapter because I just felt like I was just as confused as she was how she was describing it. She was like, oh, obviously.
I mean, I didn't think Denise was dead.
Well, she did raise her arm up.
Yeah.
So I don't think she was dead at first.
Spoiler. This is a spoiler.
Okay, then we get into like a lot of themes of like media's obsession with crime and serial killers. Mm-hmm. So we see a lot of this. She quotes, next time Pamela saw him, he was wearing a jacket, a tie, and had groupies in the New York Times on his side. He asked her where she lives, and she had no choice but to give her home address to the man who murdered 35 women and escaped. And then she's speaking to Boris, who is the campus security guy.
Oh, I remember the campus security. I didn't know his name was Boris.
And he says, like, he asks her for, like, the list of questions that the girls have put together, right? And then she says he would take them to the president and sort it out as best he could. I never heard from Mr. Wren again, but over the next year of my life, one of my questions was answered time and time again. Yes, the press was allowed to be there. They were allowed to be anywhere I was. And yes, they were allowed to bother me like that.
I mean, I think it's a very common media thing, is it not?
No, yeah. I think it's just interesting that the press really can be very invasive and they can just literally do whatever they want, but they do sensationalize like these kinds of events, which is like one of her key themes in the book here, you know?
This is a good time to bring up Harry and Meghan. The media?
Is it a good time to bring them up
I think this is a really good time to bring it up. Their whole fight is against the media.
Okay, do you remember anything about misogyny and womanhood?
Maybe if you bring it up first.
There was a lot of themes. So
I mean, I wrote some stuff down.
Okay, well, let's get to that.
All right, pop off, queen.
One thing that stuck out to me was that the New York Times, or like that reporter that was out there, they were not protecting the sorority girls. And the reporter said that you shouldn't have made yourself known. If you'd been tucked into bed by 10 p.m., none of this would have happened to you.
There's so much victim blaming happening during all of this, right? Like, you should have gone to bed. Denise should have not been as into men. It's just same old shit every single time.
You just have to have misogyny in your heart and soul
for that
to be your first thought, right?
They are male reporters.
And then remember Tina. Actually, I really like Tina. What is it? She had the cigarette and she burned that New York Times reporter. She like, quote unquote, branded him so that like Pamela would know not to talk to that bitch.
Girls, girl.
The other big thing was Pamela was really proud that the girls were like poised after the sorority was attacked and not hysterical. But then Tina's like, pop off. Right?
We are raised a certain way, ladies.
This is a hysterical thing, and you have every right to be a hysterical person. And it doesn't have to be a hysterical woman. You just have the right to be hysterical regardless.
Any man out there listening right now who thinks they wouldn't be, you would.
If your sorority got attacked, like, or fraternity, whatever, right? Like your friends.
Anyone getting attacked is going to be hysterical.
Yeah, and you have every right to show that you're upset about that.
I'm a little bummed out.
Man, I wish that Bob didn't get attacked last night.
Poor Bob. Move on.
I also found that Pamela was just like very overly thoughtful in her word choice and how she presents herself. Tina, on the other hand, is like, be hysterical, like be the person with the emotion, right? But Pamela is like, says at one point she doesn't want to embarrass the sheriff because she believes that she found out about Denise and Robbie, was that her name, dying first. She thought she found out before Sheriff Russo, right?
No, I think the sheriff didn't tell her, right?
Right, but she believes that she did, right? So then she's like, then I was going into the bright floor asking for Sheriff Caruso in a twee little voice, as non-threatening as I could be, because he had already looked at me like I was a know-it-all beast of his nightmare. I really liked that part. Like, I mean, I feel bad that she feels that way, but I liked a twee little voice and like a know-it-all beast of his nightmare. It was his job to know these things first, and yet I had found out 2 of the girls hadn't made it before he did. I was thinking, I'll pull him aside. I'll tell him in private that Robbie and Denise are dead. I don't want to embarrass him in front of his subordinates. This was how my brain was wired back then, and this is how I almost went on to live. So like in her brain, she's like, oh, he doesn't know. Like, I'm going to be just like kind and sweet and thoughtful about it in my twee little voice. And, you know, I don't want to embarrass him in front of his people, right? When actually, this bitch knew the whole time. And he knows she's calling families and such and doesn't tell her. But just like, think about like the difference between like men and women, right? He just decided not to tell her.
Don't get me started,
she's just
girl.
like, let me make myself as meek and little as possible. You know?
Let me make myself a woman.
Well, I think you just are, you know, so.
Or trained.
Man.
So many quotes, Claire.
There's just so many that I thought were really good, and I was like,
do you want to just like do an audiobook and read the whole thing?
Womanhood.
Okay, Barbie.
This is when they don't believe her that it's not Roger. She's like, she said Roger, but she retracted. But no matter what she said, they just like wouldn't even believe what she knew to be true, right? Again, just another thing that women deal with, right? It's like,
but also, I mean, yes, I agree with that, but also I feel like this is a common theme that comes up with murders. Like the police focus in on one person and then they make the whole story fit that narrative. And then they stop looking for other suspects.
Oh yeah, they just kind of want to like get it done and closed
Yeah, they want to get it done. Yeah. And wasn't there like a thing, again, I don't have a lot of reading comprehension, but don't trust this podcast.
Not good for our brand.
No. Anyway, what I wanted to say was that, listeners, you can't see, but I'm holding a giant middle finger up for my co-host Claire here. I lost my train of thought. Are you happy?
We were talking about not listening to women victims, how the victim, they They just want to close the case.
Wasn't there a part in the book about the sheriff, like, being up for re-election or something? And it would have been helpful to get the case closed faster. Ooh, who did not read the book?
Oh, maybe that did happen. Sheriff Crusoe? They describe, not racist, right? They describe him as a black man, and they said that was really rare for the 1970s.
To have a black sheriff?
For the 1970s, that's what they said.
I could have sworn there was something, or I heard it just because this comes up a lot in stories, true crime stories, where you're in the middle of an election and
just want to find someone.
Yeah, you need to find someone, you need to get them behind bars. So the town is like, hey, this is our guy, he's protected us all, he caught the culprit, and we're all safe now.
Okay, but here's a question.
Answer, ready?
If Pamela was a man, we'll call him Pamprick. That's a bad name.
Wow, that's a beautiful name.
What's a guy's name that's like Pamela?
Patrick.
But Pam, it's like Pam.
Pamson.
Pamsonite.
Pamathan.
Pamathan. Okay.
Pamid.
Prince. No, it's bad.
Prince?
Okay. Pamathan. I'm gonna go with Pamathan. So I hope, you know what, if you're named that, please let us know.
Please write into our email. My BF.
I am Pamelin. Is that the name?
Pamelin, yes. Pamelin. If your name is Pamelin, please write in. We will send you a gift.
Absolutely. We need like proof. Though,
yeah, no, we need your long form birth certificate.
Yeah. If Pamela was Pamelin, man identifies as man, and said to Sheriff Crusoe, man, that no, it wasn't actually Roger. He's quite certain that was just like a fluke of the moment, panic, had just woken up. They say, I know it's not Roger. I don't know who it is yet. In chapter 1, we don't know who it is yet. But they're like,
in chapter 2 either, spoiler.
We have assumptions on it.
Sure.
Would Pamelin be not believed as Pamela?
Yeah, we believe women less than we believe men.
So you think as a man, Pamelin, it's hard to take it seriously, sorry.
Is Pamela starting to sound kind of like a good name?
I think I actually like it.
Yeah, I think I do too. Pamelin.
Okay, I don't want to harp on it because I know this book is like controversial and like womanhood for sure, but like, we're just exploring themes here. But let's jump into this. So back to Bernadette, who saw Robbie become violent with Denise. Do you remember this moment? She describes it as like, he shoved her face down on his lap. I don't think it was sexual, but it was like suffocating her. And she was like really scared. She said she saw spots. Bernadette saw the whole thing happen. So Denise breaks up with Roger. Then he goes and asks Bernadette out, and Bernadette says yes. So why did Bernadette say yes?
Well, we don't know that much about Bernadette yet.
But what do you think? Like, what do you think that says about like womanhood?
Maybe he'd be different for me. Maybe I have what Denise doesn't.
Or do you think it's like Denise is the most popular girl in school and they describe Roger as like very attractive, so it's like, well, if Denise is super popular and she can get Roger, I can get Roger too, which means I'm just as like attractive as Denise. That she did that. I read it and I was like, what? But, okay.
Please hold as I pour more wine.
Okay, Pamela also has a lot of analogies to animal attacks. She compares like men to bears and men to sharks and men to raptors, and she kind of shows us as like a awareness and like the brutality of man. I do have a quote here. I really did like this.
Oh, you want to talk about man versus bear?
That was a huge debate, right? It was like man versus bear, and like the world blew up about it.
Yeah,
like,
I choose the bear.
Men got really mad, right? But she says, there were men who cracked their knuckles while divulging to me that what they would do to the defendant if they got the chance, thinking this was somehow reassuring for me to hear. But all it did was make me realize that there wasn't so big of a difference between the man who brutalized Denise and half the men I passed every day on the street.
Snap, 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 snap. Listen.
That was like, that one hit
No,
home.
I actually do remember that one. I mean, they would not do anything. They'd be scared.
Which men? Oh, the men.
Yeah, the ones who are like,
whatever.
Sure,
Oh,
wash a dish.
It's not even anything hard.
Yeah.
You know what? Wash a dish.
They can't even do those like period simulators. You're not gonna go anywhere near this like presumed murderer. Okay.
I think it's a good topic.
I mean, I would choose the bear any day.
Me too. Yeah.
I'll take my chances.
Right. Why?
Well,
Delicately.
I think.
Or not delicately. You know, be you.
First of all, if not friend, why friend shaped?
Wonderful analogy.
Okay. I feel like I have a better chance convincing a bear to not kill me.
With men.
With men?
That's no rules, right?
There's literally no rules with men.
It's like you just have to like hope maybe you got someone who doesn't have like violence in them.
Yeah. I'm just imagining like I am on a hike all by myself.
Right. And then you're a little you get lost.
Yes. I mean, let's be real. I don't want to see a bear or a man. Like, I'd rather see no one or a woman.
Ladybug.
So yeah, I would rather not see either. But I see a bear, I'm like, oh fuck. I'm gonna stand really still. I'm gonna like assess the sitch, you know?
Right. Brown lay down.
Yes, brown lay down. I'm gonna look for that hump in its back.
Get your bear spray.
Relatable. Panic a little bit, but I'm like, we're gonna figure this out.
I would panic a lot.
No, sure. I mean, I'm just trying to be tough for this podcast. For all our fans. But if I see a man, and it's not a man that just like walks by and leaves, even then I'd be a little creeped out.
Me too. I'd be like tracking
Yeah,
him.
totally. I'd be checking behind me all
Right.
the time. If I just saw a man, I'd be like, I'm so fucking dead.
Do you think you would talk to him? Would you be like, because in this scenario you're lost, right? Would you be like, hey, like I'm a little turned around?
I would literally rather be lost in the woods than
I
not
would
talk to that
not
man.
tell him I was lost because I don't want him to know that I'm
I'd be
lost.
like, my husband's peeing right there.
Yeah, I'd be like, my husband is just up in the tree. He's navigating and catching like hawks
I'd be
from
like,
the
I'm just
sky.
doing sniper military training up
Yeah,
here.
I wouldn't want him, even if I needed help, I wouldn't want him to know I needed
I'd
help.
be like, I'm on my period.
It's like when you're in an Uber and someone's like, oh, where are you going? Like, who's at the house? And you're like,
Literally, my whole family is there.
Everyone
I know. It's a family reunion.
WrestleMania in my house.
It's a family reunion, but I also invited all my friends, and they're all police officers.
Yeah, and the firemen are there too. Like
the bomb squad's
John
there.
Cena and The Rock.
Yes, Aquaman's there too.
Right, what's his face? Momoa.
Jason
Momoa, right?
Yes.
It's
men just
sad.
walk.
It's just sad.
Men.
I've had some good conversations with men though, where they recognize it. Like if it's like, can maybe help me get to my car. Like I hate saying that, but like sometimes it's just fucking sketch, right? And they're like, oh yeah, and then they're like, dun, 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 like I'm the hero, and you're like, okay, like whatever. I just really don't want to die today. Thank you though. And then they're like, you know, I never really thought about this, and I never really had that problem. And you're like, yeah, it's like just something that we deal with.
Yeah.
So, it's just like.
That was a gross sound.
Sorry. It's actually a really good lead into this part. I hope you remember this part.
Probably not.
Pamela is on her way to Tallahassee, so we're back in present day, and she has to go to the restroom. But she passes like a road stop, like the truckers stops or the parks where you can use the restrooms, and she opts out and decides it's safer for her to just pull over on the shoulder of the highway and go to the bathroom on the side of the road.
I would do that too.
But do you remember what happens?
No.
So she decides
someone comes up.
The guy is like, do you need help? And she's like,
she's panicked about it. Yep, I remember that.
Stressed for her in this moment because I do think that shit's weird.
I would be freaked out too.
Like she's like got her pants down, like around her ankles, squatting, you know, like also Pamela, like girl going maybe not on the shoulder, like maybe going a bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
where
but
she
that's
is,
scary
I don't
too.
know where she is. Yeah, I know you're right. Like, but did you think he was there to harm her? Do you remember?
Yeah,
like,
at first
the way
I got
he
scared.
talked?
I would have been scared.
I would have been terrified.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I'm calling the police, remember? And she had her 911 out, and then her 911 out, her phone went 911, and he was like, that ain't gonna go around here. And
That's a really good accent.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, you're really good
and
at
then
that.
she was like, he was right, and he was like, that's why I was asking if I could help you. And then he just like left. Was I in here?
Listeners, we have dogs.
Anyway.
No, honestly, my first thought that popped into my head was like, I'd pee in a water bottle.
I was so worried for her. I was like reading that part and I was like, like, and it just sucks that she opted out of going to like a more proper bathroom.
Yeah.
Than like, cause she's like so traumatized from her experience. She opts for the side of the road, which, you know, as we know, fucking sucks. But she thought that was safer. But to me, that moment was like, oh, where is it?
The safest thing is to pee in your car.
I mean,
in a bottle.
What's our girl Jessica Knowles? She really like. I feel like in this first chapter, she really just hammers home like womanhood and
all of us, all of us
women
women are living the exact same life.
The last part is talking about the defendant, which I think we really need to talk about.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Can I have some more quote time?
Oh, God.
So this is when Tina is, like, trying to help Pamela identify, like, who she saw.
Oh, no, I remember Tina. Okay. No, I remember Tina.
So Tina is trying to help Pamela identify who she saw. And so she hands her a piece of paper, a card with a picture. And then Pamela says, I read his rather prosaic-sounding name for the first time in that moment. But some years ago, I vowed to stop using it. This is no symbolic abstinence on my part. This name has been said enough and ours forgotten, yada yada. Who I want you to remember every time I say the defendant is not him, but the 22-year-old court reporter dressed for success in a pussy bow blouse. I don't know what that means, but I want to know. She was the one who recorded him in the official transcript, not by his government name like the licensed attorneys on the case, but by the two most honest letter combinations her sensitive ear and flying fingers could produce. The defendant. What people forget, or rather what the media decided muddied the narrative, is that although the defendant would go on to represent himself at his murder trial, he was never a lawyer. It made for a more saleable story if he was portrayed as someone who did not have to kill to get his kicks, who had prospects in his romantic life and career. It's a good quote, right?
Such a good quote.
I mean, it just sums it up.
No, he sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it really is. I think, too, like, you know, people always describe the defendant as, like, handsome, and he had, like, such potential, and he was smart, and blah, 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 you know? And you just really don't get to hear about all the women and the families of the people. I was like, oh, he had so much potential, you know? But it's like, what about all the women who also had potential, you know? Yeah. So that pretty much sums up chapter 1 and discussion of chapter 1. So if you had a food snack, what's your chapter rating?
I'm going to go with those juices back from the day that had the little twisty thing on it. They came in like 6 packs and they were like bright blue or bright red and really skinny, and then you had to like twist off the thing.
Squeeze it. Dude, I used to love those.
I did too, but I always got blue.
Me too. Those were the best.
Yes, they were.
Oh my God, where did you go deep in your brain to pull that
I always
out?
think about them a lot.
Wow.
Straight up melted candy.
Did you think of that beforehand?
Yes. No,
that
just now.
Just like literally came into your head. It just popped
into. I think subconsciously I think about it a lot.
We're gonna have to get you some squeezes.
I don't think they make them anymore.
I mean, my food snack rating was I put warm butter noodles.
Ew. What is a warm butter?
Like, you know, butter.
What's a warm butter?
It's like, you know, wow, this chapter didn't like blow me out of my sock. It had a lot of good themes, a lot of good topics, a lot of good quotes. And I felt...
You love a quote.
I felt
What'd you feel
satisfied.
Okay.
Like you would with like a warm butter noodle. You know what I mean? All right, so next chapters, we're going to be reading only about 50 pages now because we need to level out life and work. So we're going to be reading pages 82 to 136. And there's like a clear stopping point.
If you do math, that's around 50
like
pages.
Very short quote unquote chapters in there where you switch between like, you get to learn about Ruth, we go back to Pamela, you go back to Ruth. It's like 50 pages. So easy, light reading for the week. What is your side piece book? You like I called it side piece? Get it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm currently reading Broken Country. What are you reading? What's your side piece?
As you know, I'm working my way through these romantasy books.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I've gone through the ACOTAR series. And I also went through Throne of Glass, I think. That whole
You're asking
series.
the wrong person.
Anyway, I'm in the still like Sarah J Maas world. And I started her Crescent City. Just getting it on with my romantasy.
Getting it on, huh?
You know, we'll get there, you know.
Oh.
So, if you haven't already, because I'm sure you haven't, follow us on your favorite podcast streaming platforms, wherever you like to stream. We also have an Instagram, My BF Book Club. Send us your notes, your thoughts, your book recommendations for the future, or anything you want to talk about at our Gmail, mybfbookclub@gmail.com. So we'll see you next week, friends, and remember,
Keep on reading.
bye.
Bye.